I'm realizing that I die in some really dumb ways. This is one of those times. And this is my new challenge series, Control Hardcore. Since Control is so heavily story-based with no actual hardcore or permadeath settings like Doom Ultra Nightmare, I've had to make my own limitations for it. First one is that I'm going to try and beat Control in under 100 runs. Unlike Doom, where I'm at like 150 plus already. And the second limitation is that, yes, I am playing this as a semi-permadeath playthrough, but I'll explain what that means a little bit later. And there's also a few other rules and limitations I'm placing upon myself, which I'll explain during the run when they come up. And unlike Doom Ultra Nightmare, where I can quickly get through multiple runs, Control is a little bit slower and a little bit longer of a game. So I'm only doing the first run in this video. With all that being said, I hope you're having a royal day or night, and let's get into playing Control Hardcore. At the start of Control, you enter the Bureau of Control's old house, basically their headquarters. You play as Jessie Faden, who's searching for her little brother that got taken by the Bureau like 17 years ago. She's come to the old house looking for answers. To start the game, you go through the metal detectors and pick up your first piece of lore in the game. There's a lot of these tidbits of information and collectibles within the game that helps build out the world of Control and Alan Wake. I'm not going to go through every single one and read them and stuff because there's a lot of them, but a whole lot of world building for Control is done through these collectibles. I then run through these first sets of offices just exploring and finding a few more collectibles until I run into Audie the janitor. Through a cutscene, he tells me about an open janitorial position and sends me to the elevator to head up for the interview, which the elevator wasn't there before, but, the old house is weird. In the elevator, there is a whole cutscene. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to spoil the game for you. Because yes, I do want you to pick up this game because this game is really good. So we're going to skip cutscenes, and I'm just going to give an overview of them. Once I'm out of the elevator, I search the area for more collectibles, and I hear a gunshot in a room at the end of the hall that turned out to be the director's office. I head inside and see the source of the gunshot, a guy with a head wound on the ground after a self-deletion. I proceed to walk over and pick up the service weapon. And this is where the first gameplay restriction comes into play. I can only use the first form of the service weapon, grip. I'm restricting myself to only using the first form to add a challenge to the game, because if I did all the other unlocks, I don't think it would be like super challenging. I am able to upgrade it, so I have access to more weapon mod slots, but I'm not allowed to buy any of the other forms. After picking up the service weapon, there's a cutscene where I meet the board for the first time and learn about objects of power. It's these objects that unlock new abilities when I find them and complete their prism area. Once I get to the service weapon inside the astral prism, I have to fight some enemies from a distance to open a path to the first tutorial arena area. And I know, my aim is kinda ass, but something about Control shooting just felt a bit off to me in the start. Once I clear that area, I use the line of light to get out of the astral prism and back into the real world after a cutscene with Trench, the previous Bureau director, the dead guy on the ground. Then I have my first run-in with the Hiss. The Hiss is the big, unseen, overarching enemy for the Control story. It's what caused the old house to be in lockdown right when you entered. After a cutscene about the Hiss and the voice in my head fighting it, I dropped straight into a battle with 3 guards that honestly nearly kills me. It's the second fight of the game, and I'm almost dead already. But that shows me more of the healing mechanic in the game, where every time an enemy dies, they drop the blue shards on the ground, and collecting those heals you. After that fight, I run down the corridor and head for the next area. Here is a large open area with a few basic enemies. I duck into the bathroom to the right of the entrance and fight off the first enemy from there, then push out to the right and kill the next one, and then take out the third that was walking up behind me. A second wave of enemies spawned, and I took out 2 of them, and then went to grab a collectible, not knowing there was a third and fourth enemy in the room. Thankfully, unlike some games, this game pauses in menus, because I decided to skim the collected documents that I had, and then headed back into the main room. And I ran into the third enemy and took him down fairly quickly. I started to explore the area, and I activated an audio recording, And while I was sitting there listening to it, fourth enemy popped up, and I quickly dispatched him also. Then I ran around the area just picking up the small amount of dropped loot from the enemies and grabbing another collectible. Before I leave the area, I head into the shelter, and I grab the final collectible for this area and get a personal mod. I stop to equip an energy recovery mod and a reload speed mod. Then I head out into the next area, Central Executive. I grab a couple of collectibles and then jump over the railing and into my first mini-boss battle. Once I defeated the mini-boss, I had to cleanse the control point. It's basically a bonfire from Dark Souls or Elden Ring type games. You use the control points for respawning, saving your game, upgrading your abilities, getting extra missions for rewards, and fast travel. And control point usage is the second gameplay restriction I'm putting on myself. Control points can only be activated twice. The first activation is claiming them, which will set my respawn point there and save my game. The second activation can be to use the control point for upgrading once or to respawn once. Once the control point has been used for one of those purposes, if it is used again, then I must restart the game. This is basically what I meant by semi-permadeath playthrough. Alright, let's get back to the old house. After securing the control point and clearing out the hiss, I opened the shelter and let out Emily Pope and some Bureau agents. I have a conversation with Emily about having the service weapon and being the new director and not being affected by the hiss without an HRA. And then I'm asked to try and save one of the floating agents around that has been affected by the hiss. That doesn't go so well. And then I have another conversation about Jesse's backstory a little bit and a reason for being in the old house and how she got to them and what I need to do next with Emily. She tells me where I can find the hotline, an object of power that lets me hear from the previous director Trench and the board. I have to go through communications to get there. I sit through a cutscene of Jesse monologuing, and then I'm given the mission unknown caller, where I have to retrieve the hotline. I leave the boardroom and head to the right and into the cafeteria and communications department. I open a box and grab the source and mod from there and head for the next room. In that room, I run into a couple of enemies and then explore the area a little bit. I find a box and a collectible at the back of the initial room and then head into the cafeteria area. I quickly check out the upper area and then jump down and trigger the next fight. Initially, 3 enemies spawn, and once I take out the first 2, another 2 spawn. And I take all of them out with relative ease. Even if I did use up all of my ammo and had to wait for the gun to recharge. It was still relatively easy, right? After that, I did a little bit of exploring and found a collectible in one of the bathrooms and a box in the other. And while exploring this cafeteria, I saw a prompt up high on a ledge for something up there. So I climbed up on this railing and jumped over there to find another box with stuff in it. Probably could have, waited to get the double jump ability, but whatever. This works. Then I headed out of the cafeteria into the dead letters area. I grabbed the collectible to the left of the entrance and then headed into the lower area. Heading down these stairs spawned 2 enemies. One was a regular enemy. The other was a guy with a hiss manifested shield. I was caught a little bit off guard as I was just kind of exploring the room, and I was in the middle of grabbing a box when I saw the shield guy. So I did almost die again to the first shield guy. Once I cleared out those 2 enemies, 2 more spawned, and I took them out even though, I got even closer to death. Then I collected another collectible, opened a material box, and found one more collectible in the area before heading up the stairs at the back of the room. At the top of the stairs is a control point guarded by 3 regular enemies. Before hitting the control point, I ran over here and watched the video about the floppy disk object of power. Then I captured the control point and did more exploring in the area, finding another collectible and watching a puppet show that the Bureau apparently produces. Then I grabbed another collectible and got trapped in a cart. But it did quickly kick off after I ran out the door. Finally, I head to the next area, and up the stairs at the beginning is a box of materials. Then it's honestly my favorite thing I've seen in Control so far. I don't know what it is. I find this hilarious every time it happens. Then I run past the guy, and after opening the security room for a box and a collectible, I head through the doorway that he died at, and then I run into my second object of power, the floppy disk. I have to dodge the projectiles it's throwing at me, so I run to the left side of the room, but that just leads to a dead end with a box in a room next to it. I grab the stuff there, and then I head down the stairs outside the room to the right side of the room and up another set of stairs to the second level. I run across the catwalk, dodging some debris that's been thrown by the floppy disk, and then down another set of stairs to reach the disk. I grab it and I go into its prism. Grabbing the floppy disk unlocks the launch ability, basically telekinesis, so I can throw things at enemies. In the prism, you just have to kill all the enemies to proceed, and then you get the launch ability once you're done with it. This is by far the best ability and my favorite ability in the game, because it is just so damn powerful. Like, in this first fight out of the prism, I can break enemy shields by hitting them with one object, or I can take an enemy to half health with just one hit with no upgrades. It's kind of nice. Once I'm through that fight and the couple extra that spawn outside the room, I head into the mailroom area and grab a box and collectible. Then I go to explore the next section. Heading up the stairs by the entrance, I find a room with a bunch of computers that spawns a lot of enemies in there. 4 normal enemies and 2 shield guys with shotguns. I clear my way through these using the launch ability and the service weapon until I get to the final enemy. The final enemy in here is a named mini-boss with a submachine gun. He's not a very hard mini-boss since there's so much cover, and he drops some material once killed. I then grab the box and collectible that are in the room and head back outside. I went to the right from there and found this room with this weird miasma type stuff that I have no clue how to get rid of. I tried throwing stuff in there to see if I could locate the source of it and eliminate it that way to get the stuff that was in there, but that didn't work. Tried shooting the fire sprinkler to, maybe wash it away, see if that interaction would work, but that didn't work either. So I left, and that's when I found my first clearance level keycard. You may have seen a few of these rooms around. For these rooms, you need a certain level of clearance to open them. It's marked clearly next to the door which level you're going to need. At times throughout the story, you'll find or be given upgraded clearance to get into these rooms or open doors for shortcuts. It's kind of a way to advance the story, give you more loot, and just make it easier to get back to places if you don't feel like fast traveling. After grabbing the keycard, I play a collectible tape that was around there, and then I open a security door. I grab the box inside and head downstairs to find and activate my next control point. Then using the keycard, I open the door to the actual mailroom. Here, I encounter my first actual boss and flying enemy, Tomasi. He was the head of communications department, and now he's possessed by the hiss and trying to kill me. He's a very agile opponent, and trying to hit him with launches is fairly difficult, but not impossible. I mainly focused on him with the service weapon and his adds with my launch ability. Once I've defeated him, I check to see if there was anything in the room to collect or open, but there's nothing. So I headed through the door, he flew through and grabbed 2 documents, listened to a voice recording, and grabbed a box of materials behind the wall. Then I headed for the hotline. On the way, I grabbed a box of stuff and a couple of documents. Then I ran over to the pull cord that you're supposed to use to get to the hotline. I do kind of have a problem here because I can't read the sign at all. So I don't know if I'm supposed to pull the cord and be ready for a fight or what, but I pull it and then I can read the sign. And I pull it 2 more times like you're supposed to. This brings me to the Ocean View Motel and Casino, which is just kind of like a small puzzle to get into the hotline. You come back here a few times to go and do these small puzzles and get to different areas. You have to hit the bell on the counter 3 times to open the final door and get the key to the pyramid door. Initially, no clue this is what I had to do, but I put 2 and 2 together that it probably has something to do with pulling the cord 3 times to enter the area. Once I get the key and open the pyramid door, it created a walkway to the hotline. I ran over, picked it up, and it took me into its prism area, where there's these pissed off balls of like stone and debris. I don't know why I initially tried walking up to it to hit it, or like, I don't know, give it a hug or something, but I did, and it was a bad idea. I nearly died for that, which would have been hilarious to just die there. After that, I ran away from it, and I assumed that I had to kill it. Launching stuff does nothing. Shooting it does nothing. So, by process of elimination, I can't kill these things. I just have to avoid them. So I run around them and complete the prism and get a cutscene of Darling telling Trench about the hotline in a recording. Then Trench talks about his management team. Once I'm done with the cutscene, I head out of the hotline area and grab a document that I missed and take a shortcut to the director's office and head for the boardroom to talk with Emily again. Emily gives me my next objective, to lift the lockdown on the old house so I can go to the other sectors. I need to get to maintenance and perform a directorial override. After talking to her, there's a cutscene that shows Emily and Jesse researching things, Audie the janitor mopping in the maintenance sector, and you know, it's a little jumble, but you can kind of understand it. Once that cutscene's done, I head out of the boardroom and I use my first control point to upgrade my stuff. Now I have no respawn. First, I spend 3 ability points to upgrade the damage of my launch skill by 75%. And the remaining point I use to increase my max energy by 10%. I checked out the astral constructs I have, which is upgrading the service weapon and buying personal and weapon mods. Since I couldn't upgrade the base form of my service weapon, I didn't do anything there. And all of the random mods were a lower rank than what I have on, so I decided to just save my source and materials to increase their level later. I then kind of fucked up. I exited the control point menu screen before going to the board countermeasures, which are the additional side quests or side objectives you can do for more rewards, and then I went back and entered the control point menu to activate some of those. Now my question for those who have made it this far, with the rules that I've set out, is that technically cheating? And should I have ended my run there? My argument that it isn't is because I hadn't walked out of the circle for the control point area. Each control point has these black and white striped lines around it that you could connect in a circle. If I had stepped out of it, aka walked off the control point, and then ran back in to use the control point again, I would have counted it as 3 activations and failed the run right there. But I want to know what you think. Did I technically cheat my own rules? Also, if you've gotten this far, I just want to say thank you for watching so far. We're not done with the video, but I hope you're enjoying it. If you are, please hit that like button, leave a comment to if I cheated or not. Maybe subscribe for more of this type of content along with my opinion videos. But let's get back to the run. I grabbed 3 countermeasures from the 5 available to me. Kill 50 enemies without dying, kill hiss guards, and kill enemies with the service weapon in any mode. 3 that should be fairly easy to complete. Then I headed for the elevator and down to the maintenance sector's access corridor. Heading into the level, I get a glimpse at the main objective for the area, the main control room with the override. And then I get into the first fight of this sector. I run up a set of stairs and there's 2 regular enemies and a submachine gun enemy there. I quickly dispatch one of the regular enemies and the submachine gun enemy. Then a second wave spawns with another submachine gun guy and a shielded regular enemy. All of them I'm able to quickly dispatch with launch and a few service weapon shots. Then I claim the control point there and continue on. The next room contains another big fight with 2 waves of enemies. First is just 3 regular enemies, then a wave of 2 submachine gun guys and 3 regular enemies. All of them are dispatched with relative ease. Then I do some exploring around the room. I find 2 boxes of stuff, one in the arena room and one in the next room. While I'm exploring, a new mission pops up as I go to investigate a mysterious red light. The mission, a merry chase. But before I can get there, I'm distracted by another recording of the kids' TV show from the Bureau. Once that's done, I run down the hall and see a box of stuff in the room. I ran over and grabbed the stuff. And as I was heading out of the room, the floor gave way and dropped me into another place. I don't know how I didn't trigger it when I walked near it the first time though, but oh well. And this is where the carousel horse object of power is sitting. This object unlocks one of the most useful abilities, the dash. I use this new ability to complete the prism, but not without some difficulty on my timing. Once I'm out of the prism area, I head back the way I'm supposed to go and head over to the door with Audie's picture on it to enter into the next area. Entering there, I have a conversation with Audie. He basically gives me a few side objectives and the level 2 clearance keycard. Now that I have an improved keycard, I can get through Audie's office and open a more direct route to the first arena. And I can grab a box of stuff that was in this room. Then I head the way I'm supposed to, and Trench talks to me a little bit before I get on the elevator and head down into maintenance. At the bottom of the elevator, I find a collectible and then head through the room out into the power plant. Here I find some friendly, non-hiss affected guards. Before going and talking with them, I look around a little bit and find a shelter with a box of stuff in it. Then I head into the control room of the power plant and meet Chief Arish. He tells me what I need to do to get the power plant up and running at full capacity, so it will power the big HRA that protects the place, and then that will get me into the override. I have to clear out the coolant pumps and get the energy converters back up and running. Once we're done talking, I head outside and clear the control point out there. Then I head for the coolant pumps. As I go towards the area, I encounter my first hiss monster, I guess. I'm just going to call them poppers. I got attacked by a lot of them, but they're slow moving and kind of weak, so I got through the fight unscathed and headed into the coolant pipes area. I entered this area and found a small room with the box of stuff in it. Then I got a little confused with what to do, because sometimes me is dumb. It took me a minute, but I figured it out. Then I headed for the next fight. This fight has 3 different types of enemies. There's 3 submachine gun guys that spawn right away, then a group of 3 poppers and a flyer spawn. I took one of the submachine gun guys out right away as I entered the room, then quickly dispatched the rest so the poppers and flyer could spawn. The poppers, well, they quickly got popped, which just left the flyer. He's kind of a slippery little bastard, but I did eventually kill him. Oh, and I finally remembered that I had the dash ability, which I had not used up until this point outside of the prism. Then I clear the control point for the room. And here, I don't know why I didn't go do the furnace area. I think that I didn't know I had a quest for it in there from Audie, or like I thought the thing would come alive and it would be like a boss fight or something like that with just how bright it was in there and how big of a room it is. So instead, I head down to the coolant pump area. As I traverse down this rocky corridor, I get into a couple of small skirmishes with enemies before making it to the coolant pumps. Here, I've just got to put the batteries in the pumps and fight off poppers, submachine gun guys, and regular enemies. For the first 2 pumps, they're relatively easy. Put the battery in, it spawns the enemies, kill the enemies, rinse, repeat. After the second pump, while killing the enemies, I find a collectible up top near the second pump. I then head for the third one, and I put the battery in, and right away it dislodges itself. So I head past it and see a giant clog blocking the way. I shoot the bright yellow weak points of the clog, and it clears the way. I've got to do this twice more before the pipes are fully cleared, and that area is done. But the thing is, there's a bit of a problem. I was running through the area, and I looked left instead of right, and then I got caught in the clog spray attack, which does a good amount of damage fairly quickly. So for the first time this run, in this game I should say, I died. I respawned at the control point outside of the furnace, the last one that I've been to. So now I'm on my second life when it comes to this control point, which means I can't use this again So if I die, we gotta reset. Once I respawned, I went back and I cleared all 3 of the clogs, and I didn't get caught in the spray this time. Along the way, I grabbed a box of stuff I noticed, and then headed back to the 3rd pump to put the battery back in and get the system back up and running. Once that was done, I saw the elevator moving down towards me and saw there was a pretty big guy in there. This big guy is another mini boss with a minigun. He's also got a shield, but that's not really important because I break it right away by hitting him in the face with a few launch items. He's not that hard of a mini boss because he, slowly walks towards you, and if you're fast and just keep launching items at him and unloading with the service weapon and play around this pillar, he'll go down before he can even get off like 3 bursts from the machine gun. Once he was down, I hopped in the elevator, took it back to the main power plant, and got into another firefight. There's just a bunch of regular enemies attacking the guards up here. Then, a couple of rocket guys spawn, a couple of submachine gun guys spawn, and a lot of them I take care of immediately with launches. On the final wave of enemies, 2 poppers and 2 named enemies spawn in, and I take them out fairly quickly also. I think you could technically count them as mini bosses because they did have names, but they weren't that hard. After I collect the materials from the fight, I decide to improve my abilities at the power plant's control point. I pick up the ability to throw grenades back with launch, and I increase my health by 10%. I also upgrade the level of mods so I can get level 2s instead of everything being level 1. I pick up one of the random mods to see what I get, and then I turn in 2 of my countermeasures. And then to replace them, I kind of don't pay attention because I grab one that I can do and another countermeasure that I can't because I will never pick up spin, so I don't know why I picked that up. Oops. And now this control point can't be used again. So if I die, I'm dead. I then head over to my other objective, fixing the energy converters. There's a few enemies patrolling on this side, so I have to fight my way to the doors. I take out a shield guy with an explosive canister right away from downtown. Then I take out another regular enemy the same way. After that, I take out another enemy with my service weapon, and a flyer along with a shield guy spawns. Shield guy gets taken out first with just a launch to the face and a few shots. Then I get rid of the last regular enemy that's running around before I turn my attention to the flyer, popping him with just a bunch of shots and a box to the face. A bit of exploring in this area gets me nothing, so I head through the wrong door into the main elevator area. Exploring the bathrooms here, I find 2 boxes of stuff, and I also clear out my inventory of duplicate mods. And thinking about it, it is really weird to have 2 different sized bathrooms right next to each other. Like, why is one so big with like 15 stalls and the other is a 2-stall bathroom? Like, it's kind of just freaking weird, man. Anyways, then I head the wrong way and I head into the Black Rock processing area. I open a box of stuff in there and grab a couple of collectibles. Then I head through these big concrete marble lifting doors into the fire break area. I think that's what this area is supposed to be called. And as I get halfway and I see that there's just, a cutoff, that I can't technically go any further. There are 3 thoughts that went through my head here. First is, what's the puzzle for this area to get across? Second is, maybe it's an invisible bridge area. And then as I step off, thinking, maybe it's an invisible bridge area. Oh shit, it is not an invisible bridge. And that's how I ended my first run of Control Hardcore, by walking off an edge into a pit. That's really anticlimactic, isn't it? But sometimes you do dumb things, and this is what happens. With all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do all that algorithm stuff, hit the like button, maybe subscribe, leave a comment answering the question of, did I maybe cheat a little bit by going back into that control point again? Let me know what you think. But most importantly, I hope you have a royal day, and I will talk to you next time.